Hi everyone, this is Aisha. Welcome to a very chilly Saturday afternoon. We are going to be talking about work-life balance and working with a young family. I thought I would kind of talk about my experience of having a young family myself and balancing work, running a business, and also making sure that the little one needs are met in terms of homeschooling, which we had to do quite a lot of last year, but also just allowing enough time to kind of spend with them as well. So here are kind of my takeaways and things that I've learned in the past sort of 3 years of running my own business. So anybody that's an entrepreneur out there will know that the first few years you are pretty much working non-stop. You are there is almost like not a concept of doing a work-life balance. It's all work really. But when you have a family, a young family, you have to get to a point where you have to switch off. The first point I want to talk about is having defined or defining your kind of work zone and time, and also your time for your family. This single thing absolutely was a lifesaver for me, because being a new mum, 7 years ago, I actually didn't have young nieces and nephews that I could kind of learn from. I was thrown in at the deep end, and I really struggled with the balance of kind of having all of a sudden, from being quite independent to having a small child with me all the time. My biggest lesson has been that you are actually allowing sufficient time for your work, but also allowing, most importantly, enough time for that growing family, because they need you. As cheesy as it sounds and sentimental as it sounds, you're never going to get that time back. So do enjoy it whilst you can. My second point that I want to talk about is having some kind of a schedule. Again, I'm quite a planner. I like to know what's happening. I usually like to break down things into hourly slots so that it helps me as a person. Some people aren't that rigid. They want to just have kind of morning and afternoon schedules, which is absolutely fine. But if you have a young family or a young child or young children that are still doing afternoon naps, maybe utilising those times in the afternoon to actually schedule in your calls and schedule in your meetings. I know how hard it can be when you've got young children that are wanting your attention constantly and you're on a call. It's okay if that happens, because everyone's used to it now. And I think this past year has actually, the biggest positive for me has been people have now become more accepting of that home life balance. So don't feel like you need to apologise all the time, but make sure that you are trying to create some kind of schedule for your home, especially if you're working from home as well. So my last point, which actually I kind of touched on earlier, was I am constantly being interrupted. I have had my child sat in Zoom calls. My little one knows all my clients know him, and you have to get to a point where you stop apologising. And actually, for me, I see it as more of an education for him. He gets an insight into mummy's world. He gets insight into the work that I do, and he is actually, for a 7-year-old, quite invested. So rather than it being a negative and constantly apologising, just use it as an opportunity to say, oh, do you know what, sorry, my little one wants to just dip in and say hi. And it's okay. People have been there. Anyone with families will understand. So I think just that kind of whole ethos of kind of apologising constantly when you have children is just, I think we need to stop apologising and move away from that culture. We should be proud. I'm a proud parent, and for me, I'm trying to use all the opportunities I can to educate my child on things around business, which is something that he's not learning at school at the moment, and he won't for a long time. So he actually quite enjoys that. So don't apologise when your little one has to make that odd appearance on Zoom. It's okay. I hope you found that useful. I think the kind of the whole work-life balance is so different, and everybody responds in different ways. What's your biggest challenge been? Drop me a comment below, let me know. Let's get this conversation going. I think as a community of parents and carers, we need to be talking about it more. We need to be normalising it more, and we've got a long way to go still. So hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next week.